Amidst the transition and confusion at the State House, there's still a battle on the Sakonnet River tolls. Welcome into My State of Mind. I am Dan Yorke. Always a pleasure to have you aboard. Tonight we got two local, and I don't want to overuse the word, but sometimes I think it's heroic heroes. When people fight for what they think is right in their own communities, they're not always right, correct. But, the battle is worthy. And we've got two gentlemen from the island that need to talk about this toll thing as the deadline for, here go the tolls, creeps up on us. So they will be with us in our interview segment. Let's hustle to the rundown this evening. We haven't made mention of this, and we should. My conscience dictates that we have to. The first two items here require our prayers at this point. The third item is something that was fait accompli as of about this time yesterday when the Speaker of the House was introduced. We'll talk a little bit about Nick Mattiello. And then the GOP and just stepping over themselves, trying to make a point during this whole thing. Speaking of the Republicans, one is getting screwed just in the city of Yorke. I mean, badly. And hey, I told you about that. All right, let's dig in. First item. This headline is brutal. This whole thing is brutal. There's a picture from a Western newspaper in Washington. The toll rises to 24 as the grim search forges on. This has been, I say it's a quiet tragedy because, the nation really hasn't been very focused on this. It's a mudslide. Now, there's a lot of conversation about whether these folks ought to have lived where they did, and since 1999, they've been kind of on warning that that land is a little bit iffy. But there are 176 people that are unaccounted for, in addition to the 24 that have perished. Now, they say that number may be inflated. I'm praying that it is, just because of accounting for double identities and who was home and who wasn't. But can you say a prayer tonight for these folks in Washington? They are our fellow citizens, and there hasn't been much attention to it. I mean, nobody's talking about it around here. It's an awful, awful thing. And then the other thing that's awful is the next item, which is the plane. Now they're saying, here's a headline that tells us no luck. Now finding any kind of real identity to the plane would be unlikely. Now we've got all these videos about, and we've got all this stuff, okay, the square root of 6 in the ocean versus what, and there's a couple of sightings, and here's where the plane may have gone or whatever, and I guess the debris might be 10,000 miles away from where the plane is, and the big question is, how long do they keep looking? And, who will keep investing the resources to keep looking? At least for the foreseeable future, everybody should, and they got to keep looking until they find it. We need closure, not just for the victims' families, but for our feeling about security in aviation. So hang in there with those first two. All right, let's come home real quick. This was a landslide victory, no doubt about it. It is something that was more or less predictable after about noontime yesterday when Mike Marcello, the second candidate for the Speaker of the House, kind of gave up. Here's the headline on this one. The new Speaker in the House, there he is, Nick Mattiello. Nice enough gentleman. By the way, he will be here on Monday of next week to talk about some things, and I got some hard questions for him. Before we get to those questions, here's Susan Campbell's excellent report on the evening.
Thank you.
In a landslide vote, former House Majority Leader Nicholas Mattiello became arguably the most powerful person in the state.
I was elected Speaker to work on jobs and the economy, I believe, and that's going to be my priority. I have 100 days, so tomorrow I'm going to be working with our finance staff, and we're going to move forward, and we're going to try to come up with the best possible way to move forward.
Mattiello's supporters describe the 50-year-old Cranston attorney as a moderate to conservative Democrat.
I do believe that our regulatory process is too burdensome. I believe that some of our taxes make us less competitive regionally than we should be. So those will be places that we start looking.
Mattiello won with 61 votes. The only other person nominated for the speakership was Representative Michael Marcello. He got 6 votes.
We had an opportunity here to make some dramatic change given the circumstances that happened on Friday on the 3rd floor of this building. I think people were ready for change. I think the outside people who elected people in this chamber were ready for change. Unfortunately, the people who are in this chamber weren't ready for dramatic change. There is a dark cloud on this building. I think time will tell what evidence they seized and why they seized it. But we had an opportunity to remove that cloud, and we didn't do it.
During the roll call vote, there were also 6 abstentions and 2 no votes. One of those no votes belonged to former House Speaker Gordon Fox, who was not present.
Yeah, well, that figured. I told you that was going to happen. You know, Marcello still kind of chipping away, but you know, if he wanted to be a big reform guy, he should have talked about 38 studios in some kind of tough text, but he didn't. You know, now maybe we'll get the real hearings. He's the guy who ran oversight and kind of, you know, played it soft for Gordon Fox. And he moved way to the left, and that's why a lot of the conservative Democrats and Republicans moved to Mattiello. The problem in here, though, is that we didn't have any kind of public discussion on the issues. And to this day, we don't know what Nick Mattiello promised who for what. Now, tomorrow we're going to talk about a lack of focus for this whole ceremony. I don't have time tonight. We'll do it tomorrow. But I just want to cover this one other item when it comes to the Republicans and how this whole thing came down. Next item, Steve. Flailing in opposition is what they really were doing. Here's a little scene from that's our next item. We're ahead of ourselves. All we need is a little video here from what happened at the General Assembly yesterday with Patty Morgan. And do we have that?
We're in the middle of a vote.
This is.
You can cast a vote, or if you can sit down.
Okay, bring it to me. This is the scene at the State House yesterday as Patricia Morgan was trying to tell everybody that she'd written a letter to the 2 candidates to ask for them to support issues, and then she would vote for one or the other. It's like it was a day late and a dollar short. It should have happened over the weekend when the Republicans should have got together in their totality, the 6 of them, only 6, put all their personal issues aside, and there are plenty, get into a room and decide on 3 major issues that they wanted to put up for votes. Instead, we don't know what the Republicans did. We had Joe Trillo here the other day. He still couldn't be specific on what he was looking for from Nick Mattiello. And Morgan was out of line and out of protocol in the procedure because it was all messed up. It's a mess. It just goes to show you the Republicans can't shoot straight. And until they can start getting out of their own way and getting together, what a missed opportunity for them to actually play a role. Once the numbers got high for Mattiello, they don't matter anymore. And they'll be reminded of that as the session wears on. All right, speaking of a Republican, he got set back in court. This guy, Ray McKay, who we've invited into the program, he'll be on soon, I hope. He's running against U.S. Senator Jack Reed. And the headline reads here, the federal judge delivers a setback to McKay. He went for a temporary restraining order, and what he's looking for is to prevent the city of Warwick from firing him. He's a classified employee, works in IT. And like 7 years ago, his job was changed from non-classified to classified. What does that mean? It's just a paperwork change, really. Nobody reports to him. While all the other employees, police, fire, teachers in the city of Warwick can run for office, his job is classified and he can't run for office. So he's under the threat of being fired. So he went to the judge to say this is unconstitutional, asked for a restraint against the city of Warwick from taking action against him. And Judge John McConnell, who's an old-time political operative, didn't see the urgency. Well, McKay was trying to explain to me today on the radio what the urgency is.
Unfortunately, the judge agreed with the city that there was no imperative to do this, that there was no time constraints on me. And that I don't understand, that argument, and someone needs to explain that to me. Everybody who knows politics, time is money. If I'm not a candidate, I'm not raising money. And if I can't raise money, I have a hard time to run.
Look, I don't think he's got a shot at beating Jack Reed, but it doesn't matter. He should have the right to run against Jack Reed. Jack Reed ought to be a sport and call on the Warwick City Council to pass a new resolution. The old one is like, the old ordinance is like 42 years old. I don't know what the fight was back in 1971 over classified employees, but this is wrong. And you folks in Warwick ought to pepper your city council to change that law. It's blatantly unfair. All right, and lastly, I told you the teachers union was the group that propped up Clay Pell to run for office, and the headline shows it today. They endorse him. Voila, surprise, surprise. Here's the one problem with that endorsement. Clay Pell hasn't been found ever since he lost his car. We have a picture of him? Can we remember what he looks like? There he is. He's out wandering aimlessly through the east side, looking for his wife's car. teachers better start thinking about another candidate, because this guy has disappeared into the wilderness of lost cars. When we come back, speaking of cars, they cost a lot to operate, especially when you go over a highway overpass that they call a bridge. Stay with us. You know, I thought the Pell Bridge was the most popular bridge or well-known bridge in Rhode Island, but now it's the Pell simply because they're trying to toll it, and they shouldn't be. As far as I'm concerned, it's a very pretty overpass. Yeah, it costs tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars, no doubt, but my goodness, if we can't pay for infrastructures like this, I don't know. But I've got guests who can make the point today. Here's the latest headline on all this. House and Senate okays extension for the Sakana toll, and what that means is that we got till May 15th before it goes from 10 cents to 50 cents or $3.75 if you don't have a transponder, right, Ray?
That's correct, Dan.
Ray is a battler, you know, with the Portsmouth Business Association and the Portsmouth Economic Development Committee, and Jim Smith is with STOP. What is STOP, Jim?
The Sakana Tolls Opposition Platform.
And you were one of the initial, come on everybody, let's sign the petition against this.
Yeah,
thing.
actually it was my wife, Jeannie, known as No Toll Jeannie these days around the state, that started the petition more as a...
Do people call her that?
Some people do, yes.
Does she like it?
Well, she is the one that started the website on the No Toll Jeannie, so that was her idea.
Okay.
And she, just out of frustration, when we heard about the toll was going to be implemented on the bridge at some point, she started this petition, grassroots effort, very local, and within a matter of days we had all kinds of taxpayer organizations and community groups and all signing on, and then the leadership of those groups became known as STOP, Sakana Tolls Opposition Platform. We meet on a regular basis to work toward trying to find a way to stop the toll in the Sakana River Bridge.
The other day I was on the radio and I suggested that they might be out of gas. STOP might be out of gas. These guys aren't out of gas. You've done the hearings and you're battling and you're, you know, all that. But I sense kind of a malaise. Is there a malaise amongst the people on the island in the East Bay?
Not really. We believe that at the right time when we need to, we can mobilize the folks. In fact, last year when Senate Bill 989 was introduced, we put out the emails and through Facebook and the other media for folks to contact Speaker Fox's office and say, we really want you behind 989 and the corresponding House bill. And we got word back from Jay Edwards that that was one of the largest volumes of input that his office had in a while.
That would be State Representative Jay Edwards.
Correct.
Who now moves into a little bit more of a leadership role with this new regime. I don't know if that means something. Are you hearing if that means anything on this issue?
Well, you know, certainly we're going to have to take some time here and see when the dust settles, where we all end up. I know that they're in a little bit of a state of flux, and I guess at this point Jay has been moved up to be the majority whip. And I get a kick out of that because we've been on Jay over the past year to have him speak with the other members of the General Assembly and try to get them on board. So he's been, you know, kind of doing this right along the past year, and so now I guess it's going to be part of his duty.
Do you think effectively?
Yes. I think he has been effective. When we started off on this, we were really at zero, and Jay worked very hard and very long, as well with our senators Lou DePalmer and Chris Ariano and our other reps in the East Bay, to bring awareness to this. And he's gained some juice in this. It's been a long, hard battle, but he has made progress.
Well, I'm glad they think so. I don't. And when we come back, we'll talk about it. But these guys also have all sorts of reasons why there should be no tolls, and on that, we will heartily agree. Don't go anywhere. So Ray Berberick and Jim Smith are with me. They are some of the leading guys in this effort to stop this toll thing on the Sakana River Bridge. And look, they brought some easy to follow arguments. Let's put up slide number 1. All right, guys, why we're against the tolls? Narrate it.
Well, with respect to the negative economic impacts, what we were able to do is some mathematics that the Jacobs engineering firm who does the work for Turnpike and DOT said that 20 to 25 million annually in toll revenue would come in. but at a cost of about a 21% diversion factor on the bridge. So we went down to the Newport Chamber and the CVB, Convention and Visitors Bureau, found out there's about 4 million tourists that visit the island, figured 3 million over the Pell, 1 million over the Sakonnet. 20% off of that is 200,000. And then from a report on the CVB site, Global Tourism 2010, that when the tourists are done spending money, that contributes $70 a head in state tax revenue per person. So 200,000 times 70 is 14 million. So then Diane Hurley, the CEO of Newport, wrote a letter to Senator Piva-Weed, and she said, we stand to lose anywhere from 2 to 15 based on our experience in the raising the Pell rates.
Newport Grand.
Correct.
Yeah.
So even hedging our bet and cutting our argument in half.
It's as simple as this. You raise some revenue on the tolls, you lose it in the economy.
Exactly.
Simple as that. Next item. The next thought was, and the next chart, Steve, and we can put that up, the numbers on the Rhode Island Turnpike and Bridge Authority. Now look, I think the Turnpike and Bridge Authority is just playing with the card that was dealt, the hand that was dealt to them. A lot of folks on the island and think that they're the nefarious crowd. I don't think they are. I think, do you think they are? I don't think they are.
No, in fact, that was one of our early challenges, is that their reputation precedes them. They've done an outstanding job in maintaining the 2 oldest bridges,
right,
which carry an awful lot of traffic.
And folks, you should understand that the Rhode Island Turnpike and Bridge Authority runs the Pell and the Jamestown and the Mount Hope bridges. Now they got the Sakonnet because the state put legislation in, we can build it, but we can't maintain it, so we're going to throw it over to the Turnpike and Bridge Authority. And therein lies the whole problem. A minimum maintenance budget to actually maintain the Sakonnet River Bridge, a couple, $3 million a year, something along that line?
Back in September 2012, we had a breakfast to get organized, and we had legislators in, and Mike Lewis was there, Director Lewis.
Of the DOT.
Right. And in essence, he said that a general engineering rule of thumb is that for regular routine maintenance, it's $1 million per bridge mile a year. So if you got 4 bridges, say we'll give them 6 miles total.
The Sakonnet is how long?
No, a quarter of a mile? No, half, not even
About
a half a mile.
4/10 of a mile.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So it's a small amount against an $8.5 billion statewide general fund.
Right, so
budget.
that's what we were saying, is that $6 million in regular maintenance, but then we learned that there's the big expensive maintenance, the deck replacement or the capital improvement, which gets into the tens or hundreds of millions of dollars.
That's on the Pell Bridge.
And that's on the Pell Bridge.
Right.
Right. So what we have here is a plan that helps to pay for the Pell Bridge.
Right.
The Sakonnet Bridge helps to pay for the Pell Bridge. And the Pell Bridge now is kind of jammed up because the authority has to do all this bonding, and they can't project what their revenues are going to be because we're so up in the air about what the Sakonnet status is going to be, right? So it's a
Yes.
moving target.
Yes.
It is. I think that, excuse me, it was a bridge of opportunity. Once you have existing structures that have been built with federal money and they're completed, you can't toll them. A couple of years ago, I think DOT tried to put an application to win the lottery for the toll. They were going to try to put in a Route 95. They lost. They couldn't get it. They basically had nowhere else to turn. And the Sakonnet River Bridge being new construction was really basically the low-hanging fruit. And that's the place they felt was the easiest place to go and grab some tolling.
So you guys have some ideas. Here's the third slate, if we can throw that up. I agree. I mean, the general fund ought to be able to operate this bridge and maintain it. I don't know about the fees. You guys, there's a habit of everyone coming up with new revenue solutions. Dismantling the Rhode Island Turnpike and Bridge Authority, maybe, but I'm going to eject both of you on the 4th. You want to toll the Route 4 and Route 46 routes?
No, we weren't.
Where'd you come up with that one? How'd that get on my graphic?
It wasn't so much an advocate as we laundry listed out all of the possibilities.
What might happen?
Where else could revenue come from?
Well,
and then from there, it gets into the political process.
Here's the point that you make with that, though, all kidding aside. The day we start talking about a toll on the highway, now watch the blank hit the fan,
Oh, yeah,
Lord Kingdom
absolutely.
come, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's the point, and that's what I try to make the point to the rest of Rhode Island, that this discrimination over what I consider to be a beautiful overpass is going to come back to haunt them one way or the other if we don't get a general state solution. Don't you think?
I agree.
Yeah. And the day the highway becomes a toll bridge is that the provinciality of our General Assembly members and the people of Rhode Island is amazing. Nobody in Burrillville cares about you.
No, but that's one thing, the great thing that came out of the Infrastructure Commission is that we learned that 60% of the bridges
that are deficient.
are in Providence County. And then that was our, a bit of good luck, shall you say, that this became now a statewide problem.
All right, let me say, we need more time on this. I'm gonna ask these guys back when this thing gets more intense, and we'll take more time on the show. Bottom line, we only have a minute. Hearings are coming. You gotta mobilize people. What's the strategy?
Well, again, at this point, excuse me, we pretty much have a strategy in place based on right now the bill that's before the General Assembly that does need work in terms of how we're going to finance this.
It's a real potpourri.
It is.
Fees,
It is.
this,
There's
that,
a lot
the
to
other
it.
thing.
And
It's
actually,
really-
they tried very hard not to do additional fees. There's only one additional fee in the bill, which is the 5% surcharge on DMV fees that sunsets after 5 years. Everything else is from within the budget. So that's what we're working on.
Senate Bill 2335 and House 7432, only 1.65% of that billion is new money.
Clock's ticking. May 15th, the tolls go up, right?
They can extend it again.
Think they will?
It depends. What we need to do is have an honest discussion with the Turnpike Authority as to what really is the crisis that's prompting the bond anticipation notes, which is prompting the
All right. I shall bring the chair in
discussion
to
there.
get an answer to that question, guys. Thanks. Keep up the good battle. Your state of mind when we come back. You get in touch with the show, you see the numbers, 228-1886, and you can email me. Here's an email we got from last night's program on our wonderful guest from the U.S. Olympic hockey team. Dave loved the idea that we got off the politics and had Michelle Picard in. Great spirit, enthusiasm, poise, character, all that. He loved her. You didn't see her? Well, you can go online at WPRI.com and you can see our terrific guest, who was very poised when I asked her the worst question in the world. Was it your fault when the puck went in? I still have trauma over that. We'll see you tomorrow night on My State of Mind, 7:30.